The bodybuilding world is completely different. I mean, just so different. I mean, the primary reason why I left is because I got tired of hating myself.
That was Erika Jurkowski, former bodybuilder, now Crushing Iron C26 Athlete. She joins Robbie and I today on the second ever Squadcast. She talks about what it was like changing sports and getting into triathlon with basically zero experience, how she went from a sprint through a half and all the way up to this year competing with us at Ironman Louisville. She's got a lot of great energy and some really funny stories. So sit back and enjoy the second ever Squadcast with Erika Jurkowski. And here she is, right in the flesh.
In the flesh, we are testing out our first intimate video, our first intimate Skype video Squadcast. So we are currently all in our C26 Snuggies and huddled around our laptops and campfire, ready to share with you our second C26 Squadcast with Erika Jurkowski. How you doing, Erika?
Hey, I'm doing all right. How are you guys?
Good. Introduce yourself to the podcast universe.
Oh, gosh. Well, see, my name is Erika Jurkowski. I'm out of Richmond, Virginia. Yeah, I don't know. What do you want to
Wow.
It's so weird looking at you guys until
you're really reeled him in with that one.
Oh boy.
Let's see. All right. So you want me just to give my basic intro? Let's see. My name is Erika Jurkowski. I'm from Richmond, Virginia. I have been doing triathlon since March of 2016. Found you guys on the podcast, I think in episode 2, if I remember correctly. 2 or 3, one of the two. So I caught you pretty early. So I like to consider myself an OG of the podcast for sure. Yeah, I guess I started out in the bodybuilding world, and I was teaching in a gym and decided that I needed a change. I was pretty miserable in there and had a friend tell me that I needed to find something else to do. I had run a half marathon a few years prior, and I was teaching spin. And I had dated somebody at the time who was training for Ironman Chattanooga, and decided that I might be able to actually do a half Ironman. My lifting partner and I were chatting about it, and she said, well, what do you think about a full Ironman? I said, there's no way, because I don't swim. And she said, oh, well, what about a half? And I said, maybe we'll see. You know, I said I could probably figure out how to swim. And she said, well, when have you ever backed away from a challenge? And then it was game on from there. I signed up before lunchtime. So that was at like 7 o'clock in the morning. By lunchtime, I was signed up for a half Ironman. I would not recommend anybody ever doing that right off the bat. I had exactly 6 months from the time that I signed up to the time that the half was that I had signed up for. Called that night and found a coach and got in the pool the next day. And 6 weeks later, I did my first sprint, slowly made it to the half, did another half, then did a full. That's,
yeah. All right, and that'll wrap it up.
Version. That's the short version.
I got it. What was more nerve-wracking, your first sprint or your first Ironman?
Oh, man. You know what? I probably would honestly say my first sprint. My first sprint was so scary, and that's just because I didn't, like I said, I didn't really know how to swim, and so it was only a 400-meter swim, but you're talking about, like, I mean, if you've ever met me in person, you know, like, I'm usually glammed up, lashes, makeup galore, you know, obviously I look like that today right now, but I'm usually, you know, pretty glammed up, so for me to put my face in the water, yeah, I didn't really know that you had to do that until the swim coach said, yeah, you're going to need to put your face actually in the water. And I was like, wait, what? You do what? She said, yeah, that's what like the goggles are for. And so,
come on.
So I did not know how to swim. I really did not know how to swim. So to get myself in 6 weeks to the point of where I was swimming 400 meters, because I honestly, the first time I couldn't even, we tried in an infinity pool, and then I went into a 25-meter pool, and I couldn't even get across to 25 without stopping at least 4 times. And then within a matter of 6 weeks, I was able to swim a 400 without stopping. It was like a snake type of swim, and it was an 8-foot deep pool. And so I'm only 5 foot. So in a regular 5-foot pool anyway, I'm practically underwater when I stand up. But an 8-foot deep pool was really, really nerve-wracking, to say the least. So to not only jump in the water and swim 400 meters, but to do that in a pool that's 8 feet deep was just scary. So honestly, I can say that I wasn't worried about the bike or the run in the sprint, but I was so nervous about the swim, like very nervous about the swim. So I remember I actually have a little video and everything of me the morning before, like I was shaking. When it came to Ironman, I felt like I was so prepared. Like Robbie, you and I had worked together with so much that just, I was prepared. I was ready. Excited, obviously a little nervous, but not to the extent of being nervous like I was in the sprint. Because in the sprint, I really didn't feel like I was going to get through it. I was worried that I would not be able to make it through the swim. But when it came to Ironman, I was so ready that I just need to get my feet in that water and go. So, yeah.
Well, the swim now, I think a lot of people go through that same thing. So you're talking about you're shaking, and did you like panic in the swim, or did you kind of pull it off the first one, or how did that go? How did you get through that? Did you have to stop, or because I just think it's a point of entry for a lot of people, and it's a hurdle they have to get over mentally and physically, obviously. But so. Like, at what point when you got into that first swim, did you think you could do it? Were you up to that speed, or was it just going to be a crapshoot?
I had swam the distance before, but I hadn't swam it continuously, because in the 25-meter pool that I had the walls to rely on, and so the pool that we swam the first one in was a 50-meter pool, and they just had buoys in there, and you just swam around, so you weren't going to touch the edges and kick off the edges. You just had to keep swimming in like a snake format. So it was just different because I hadn't continuously swam 400 meters. So that's what I was so worried about. Anxiety for sure. I got in, and as soon as they said go, because they were letting people in every 15 seconds, and as soon as they said go, I was like, what do I do? And then just started going. And I remember getting out and being like, thank you, God, I'm out of this. Like, now I can actually get to the real part of the race, which is the bike and the run, which I like. So that, I just remember being so nervous. And then of course you're in like one lane, you have 15 seconds every go. And then there's people just swimming over top of you and just getting kicked in the face. Just, everything that you can imagine in a pool swim where they're letting people go every 15 seconds. So, yeah.
So you're from your first sprint to lining up for Louisville, what was, what kind of time frame are we looking at here? Did you say like a year and a half or 2 years?
Yeah, so I had started in March of 2016, and then obviously Louisville is October of 2017. So yeah, about a year and a half, roughly.
And yeah, I would call that fast track.
Do you think it was too fast, or how do you feel about it now?
I have differing opinions on that. I don't want to say I have it easier, but my lifestyle makes it easier for me to train. I'm single. I don't have kids. I mean, I work full time, but I don't want to say I don't have a lot of responsibilities, but I don't have as many responsibilities as, somebody who's married with kids. So I have more, I guess, availability to train. So it makes it easier, like on the long rides and things like long runs, I can fit them in much easier than people who have kids and a husband to work around. So, I think that for me, I'm a 0 to 100 kind of person. So for me, I feel like the year and a half worked really, really well. But I also think that with the work-life balance, if I was married and had kids, I don't necessarily know that I would have thought that a year and a half would have been a good time frame. Just to keep the balance, because training for Ironman is just so much time. I mean, it really is just a lot of time. And so to try to balance that with kids and a husband would just be so much more difficult than I had to worry about. So I feel like, if you were to have that situation, maybe stretching it out a little bit longer and making a your base fitness level, slowly increase over time, that probably would help instead of kind of jumping right on in like I did. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it totally makes sense. But on the kind of the flip side, I know that, a lot of athletes, they look at just, when they get into the sport, they think, I hope someday to complete, a 70.3 or to complete a Ironman. And they look at it in like a long term. So they always have that kind of carrot hanging over their head. It could be 2 years, could be 3 years, could be 4 years. And you went through like almost a whole athlete life cycle in like a year and a half. Do you feel like, talk about maybe some of the, I don't want to say drawbacks, but some of the struggles post Ironman with, all right, I was basically on a fast track and now I don't have that looming like, holy shit, I might not finish. Now to finishing and then doing really well. And then you're kind of like, okay, well, that was fun. What's next?
Yeah, I think with me doing it on the fast track, it made it a little harder after, because I essentially made this my life. So as soon as Ironman was done and the excitement and the lull, everything just kind of slowly went away. It's kind of like you have that, well, now what? Now what do I do? Like, what's the next goal? Because I don't foresee myself doing a DECA, or any of these crazy multiple Ironmans one after the next. And I love a challenge. So I was having a little bit of a hard time with, okay, well, what's next? And I love the triathlon world, so I can't see myself leaving the triathlon world. But like you were saying, it's I personally think some of the drawbacks to going straight into Ironman is you miss a lot of the journey. So one thing I can say that I learned for sure is Ironman isn't about that day of the race. It's so much more than that. It really is the lead up and the hard work and the effort and the time and the energy and just really, enjoying that journey and, the craziness of it, the ups, the downs, the emotional roller coaster of everything that goes into getting yourself to your first Ironman. And so sometimes I do wonder if I would have taken maybe a few more years and built up my speed and built up, just a little bit better of a base, how much more could I have crushed my Ironman time? Really, how rock star could I have come into my first Ironman? So yeah, there are definitely some drawbacks to doing the fast track. If I were to do it all over again, I honestly think I probably would have taken a little more time and just built up some speed.
Let's go back to this bodybuilding for a second, and since you just said you love the triathlon lifestyle, what was it that sort of made you move away from bodybuilding and decide that I need a new challenge, and then it became triathlon? What are compare the maybe the different training paths between the two, and what how you look at what you might get into or keep getting into in the future.
So the bodybuilding world is completely different. I mean, just so different. I mean, the primary reason why I left is because I got tired of hating myself. That was the number one reason. And number two is just like, I like to eat, drink, and be merry. And unfortunately, you can't do that when you're in the bodybuilding lifestyle. So the very last show, I did 4 shows. And so I was in the bodybuilding world for right at 4 years. The last show that I did, I was standing on stage at 102 pounds, and I was told that I still needed to be 5 pounds lighter.
Wow.
Now, your girl's just blessed with some big old hips, and it is what it is. So, I mean, I can't get them down but so much smaller. And, I just got to a point where standing there with 5 people just completely picking apart your body with any and everything. I mean, some things are just genetic. I mean, you just can't change them. And it got to the point where I just stopped, and I had this realization of like, why am I letting people do this to me? Like I always try to be a good person and do the right thing and be a positive person and positive influence to people. But it just felt like all I was doing was being a negative influence to myself by allowing 5 to 7 people who are standing there at a judging table tell me that at 102 pounds, I needed to lose 5 more pounds. It was mind boggling why I would do that. I felt like crap anytime I got under 112 pounds. Like I was so carb depleted and just hungry. I know at one point, I think I was eating like 500 calories a day. It was disgusting. Like, I mean, it was disgusting. And I was so moody. I was miserable. And it's so funny now because my coworkers, I've been at the same job for 7 years. So they've watched me go through the bodybuilding world, and they also watch me go through the triathlon world. And everybody's like, you're so much happier. We like you better this way. This is such a better area for you because you're not miserable. And so, one day I remember my coworker, I'm allergic to tree nuts. So my coworker had almonds, and I was just so angry. And he said, hey, Er, do you want some almonds? And I was like, I'm allergic to them. He was like, I know. Maybe it'll shut you up. So, I mean, it's just a totally different world. I mean, and I loved it when I was in it because it was hard. It was challenging. You're always in there. You're going balls to the wall. Like, I mean, you're really putting in time, effort, and energy. Obviously, it was only like 2 hours a day, and then maybe 45 minutes of cardio. And I remember being like, oh, I hate cardio. Oh, it's the worst. I actually feel like I said that maybe a couple weeks ago, and then I was like, wait a second. I'm in a sport of all cardio. Wait a second. So, and I like I said, I like to eat, drink, and be merry. So with a bodybuilding lifestyle, I mean, I was bringing Tupperware to like family get-togethers. I remember being at like my cousin's bridal shower and like bringing my own food of Tupperware. And it was just things that I look back on like that I missed out. And I really, obviously our culture is very big on like eating and drinking and when you do get-togethers. And so I just felt like I was always in my corner eating out of Tupperware, and people were judging me, or people were like, what the heck? And then you get the other end of the spectrum where, you think you look great and you're getting smaller, and in the bodybuilding world, you're looking good. But then in everyday life, people are like, oh my God, are you okay? Should I feed you? I can't even tell you how many times I've had people ask me if they could feed me. Like random people in a grocery store just stopping and being like, can I feed you, please? You look so hungry.
Wow.
Like, oh. Had somebody tell me I look gaunt one time. It was just, you get to a point where you have to make decisions, and it was just a lifestyle that I chose was no longer good for me, no longer good for my mental status. And I started hating myself. I mean, because like I said, at 102 pounds, you have somebody tell you that you still need to lose 5 more, and they literally pick apart your whole entire body and send you like a message about everything that's wrong with you. And then you stand there, look in the mirror at 102 pounds, and you hate yourself. Like, who wants to? I remember standing there and like looking at some of these pictures that I look back on, and I looked amazing. And I remember just thinking to myself, wow, you look so gross right now. You're so disgusting. You're so fat. And it was just such a horrible, horrible mindset. And now, I'm about, I think like 18. I teeter between 115 and 120 right now, weight wise. And I don't even care. Like, I mean, I have days, obviously, like any normal girl, where I want my clothes to fit perfectly, but I don't judge myself any longer by a number that's on the scale, because this 100 and whatever pound body just got me through a freaking Ironman. Like, let's be real. Like, I just went and destroyed 140.6 miles. Whereas if my 102 pound body would have maybe made it like 45 minutes on a treadmill before I passed out, you know, and face planted on the treadmill. So just a totally different world. I mean, there are some aspects that I miss of it. I miss the fun, the people, you know, but it's so different here. And, you know, it's definitely more, well, from what I've seen, at least, it's more competitive in the bodybuilding world. People don't really share their tips and tricks and secrets. Whereas it seems like in triathlon, most people, I'll preface by saying most people are pretty good about like, hey, let me help you. Let me tell you what I do. Let me give you some tips, tricks, you know, whatever. And you're all out there just doing your own thing. So, you know, I don't have at the end of a triathlon 5 to 7 people telling me I didn't run hard enough, you know, or I didn't swim hard enough. You know, it's nice to be able to go out and do my best. And, you know, I can obviously beat myself up if I don't feel like I did well enough. And, you know, Robbie and I can have that conversation, but about what, you know, needs to be better for the next time. But it's a totally different world. It's a much more positive world. And that's why I'm excited to stay in it. It's something that's much better for my mental health.
What would you, I think just like the totally different athletic backgrounds is fascinating. You know, from going to 500 calories a day to over 500 calories on a long bike ride. You know, and then plenty of food after. It's such a different, you know, kind of not just, I mean, this all around sport, but just the eating aspect of it. But what would you like? I know there are a lot of, and I think the mental aspect of it that people find themselves in certain sports that are thinking about getting triathlon or even in triathlon, that struggle with, you know, like you did, you know, I don't know if I can even do this swim, and then struggling with, especially, I mean, even guys struggle with, I think one of the most nerve-wracking things for anybody when they do their first race is putting on a freaking tri outfit. And that's what my wife calls it. Allie calls it my outfit. She goes, are you going to wear your tri outfit? You know, and you think about it and you're like, holy shit, like, I'm about to wear this up. Like, I don't even answer the, you know, it's nerve-wracking, you know, and I think a lot of people struggle with that, you know, and
I did.
And I, you know, men and women, you know, obviously, but
I feel like an idiot.
Yeah, I know everybody does. I mean, you should. I mean, you're wiping cream on your junk or your privates, and then you're gonna get dressed in like this super tight stuff, and hopefully you don't chafe. And then you're gonna jump in the pool with a swim cap on, and nobody ever looks sexy in a swim cap. Let's be honest. And then you get out of the swim, and your face is red, and you look like you came out of the birth canal. There's nothing awesome about your first experience or like what you can do, but you know, having been there so recently, to, you know, imagine, or, you know, going back and remembering how terrified you were before your first sprint, and about like realizing you had to put your face in the water, to hitting that carpet in Louisville, like talk a little bit about just the difference in feeling, and then just the emotions that come with that, because to me the carpet is more awesome than the finish.
Absolutely.
And so, you know, just talk a little bit about that if you could.
Well, quick, I'll kind of you were talking about food. I remember when my coach had first told me that I could eat pasta and salt my food. And I was like, wait, what? Hold on a second. I've stayed away from carbs for years, and now you're telling me to put salt on my food? I have avoided salt for the last 4 years and avoided carbs, and now you're telling me I can eat carbs and salt my food. So that in itself was like heaven. You don't even understand the big bowl of pasta that I made that day. It was like, it is game on. Yeah, okay, so let's talk about the tri as Allie, which, hi Allie, love you.
Yeah.
The tri outfit. Yeah. So after bodybuilding, I had decided that I was just going to gorge, eat, sleep, be merry, drink, do my thing. And so I ended up gaining a bunch of weight. So I guess maybe I had hit like 130. I'm only 5 foot, by the way. So if these numbers ring true, understand I'm only 5 foot. So about 130 pounds. And I put on my tri kit, and I remember just being like, oh no, this is going to be really bad. And then when you get in the water, obviously it suffocates to you. And then you're like, oh, I look like a busted can of biscuits right now. Woo! Like, oh, this is rough.
Biscuits.
This is rough right here. So, and obviously you look back at some of these pictures and stuff, and I'm like, oh gosh, what was I thinking? So I've gotten to a point now where I actually buy my clothes a little bit bigger than my size, my tri kits. I don't go up like 4 sizes. I go up like maybe a size bigger, just because I know how they're going to fit, and I know that they're going to suffocate me in. So I try to compensate for that, because I don't want it to look like a busted can of biscuits. That's just me personally. I try really hard to make sure that my kits don't fit like that any longer, because I've seen pictures where they did at one point, and I didn't like that. So
you don't like that?
And that was I didn't like that. So I don't like that at all. So I know for me personally, and especially going through the Louisville finish line, I didn't want to hate my pictures. I didn't want to hate myself. I didn't want to hate my pictures. But yeah, so that whole thought process in the tri kit. Let's talk about that red carpet though. So nothing is as badass as hitting that red carpet. Like the Ironman Louisville finish line was so awesome, but that red carpet, man, so many emotions come through, and so much. And if you look at my profile picture, you can see it's just such an amazing feeling when you hit that red carpet and you're like, man, everything that I have done up until now, it's right here. It's right here in these next 25, 50 feet, however long that carpet is. It's right here. And this is what it comes down to. Everything that I have worked my ass off for so long is now right here at my fingertips. And obviously, Robbie, I had no idea how I did. And so if anybody knows me, I am a data person. So I'm constantly watching my data. I'm always watching my watch. I'm always watching my heart rate, always doing everything like that. And you and I had that conversation, and I said, I think I'm just going to scratch the heart rate monitor. I don't want to know. And so, I started my watch at Lou at the run and just ran. I just ran by feel, and I ran having fun and just excited. And Mike, I was waving. I'm like, hey!
Yeah. I was like, well, how?
Mike is like, why are you looking so excited right now? And poor Mike's like, I felt like you almost hated me at that point, where you're like, you have this big grin on your face, and I don't know why. Yeah. I'm just like, I just had fun with it, man. I just enjoyed it. And like I said, turning that corner and just seeing the lights and seeing, that red carpet. I mean, it's amazing. And I can tell you right now, no bodybuilding show that I've ever done gave me that feeling. I had some great feelings because I placed pretty well in bodybuilding, but it's a totally different world. I mean, it just is. And that finish line, you're like, I did it. I literally taught myself how to swim by putting my face in the water and learning that you had to put one arm in front of the other. I was doggy paddling, straight up doggy paddling. So I had no idea that you even had to put one arm out straight or, anything. No clue.
Wow.
I look back now and I'm like, oh my God, I feel so bad for that lady when she said, all right, go ahead and try swimming and let's see what you got. And she was like, oh God, this is going to be a lot harder than I expected. So.
Yeah, you know what? I did see you out there in that run course multiple times, and it's an interesting thing because you did look so happy, and I think that my feeling on that is probably that there was some point in that race where you're like, yeah, you know what? I think I got this thing, and it was early. right? You must have had this, like, there's always a doubt going into your first Ironman is like, can I get through this? Can I make this? Because you just don't know. You haven't been the distance and all that. At some point, I know you felt it. And then I saw you like 3 times after that, smiling ear to ear. And then, you know, I'm doing my thing. And there's like, I don't know why I couldn't get into your head space, because I wish I could have. I just think that there's, you know, I had this goal in my head and I was all serious about it and trying to get it, and then it became a big struggle for me. And I look over there and see you, and you'd be like, just, hey, good to see you, baby, or whatever. It's like, and I was like dying. But I think that you know, is worth visiting, because, you know, you're going to probably be doing another one here soon.
Yeah.
And just to be able to, because, you know, it's to keep that mindset, and now you're going to be like, man, I know I can do this, and now I'm going to go out and do it better. So there's that fine line between, you know, putting your nose to the grind, putting your head down, and going for it, and like, you know what, I'm just going to cruise and feel good about this and go. So as you go forward, I think you should keep your mindset, actually, because, you know, it's just like if you train up, then you can. You know you're going to do it again. You know you're going to find that same spot as, like, I'm going to do it faster, but I'm going to still enjoy it, and you're going to hit that same, like, recognition place.
Yeah, I loved Delmo Sports. I mean, when you guys had him on the podcast, I loved his phrase, like, I'm just out here playing triathlon. I mean, it's so true. It really is, and I really thought about that all day. And like I said, Ironman, you know, it was about the day because you become an Ironman, but at the same time, like, it was so much about that journey. And I knew I had the distance for the swim and the bike. Obviously, I hadn't done the run yet. I hadn't run that far in a run yet. I hadn't really been prior. And so you're right over there, Robin.
Yeah, I'm good.
I knew that, like, as soon as I knew waking up that day that it was like I was going to give everything I had to at least get across the finish line. I didn't know how fast I was going to be, but I was going to do it. And so I felt really comfortable in my swim. I felt really comfortable in the bike. I knew when I stepped out of the water, like, I was 10 minutes ahead of what I thought I was going to do. Got on the bike, and the bike is my sweet spot. I love being on the bike. I could ride all day, every day. And so the minute I got off that bike and I felt good, like I had no problems, everything was good, I was like, this is my game right now. And so my transition was rather humorous from the bike to the run, but
well, why?
It was interesting.
Mike, do you know?
I got really close.
Well, I may know it, but, you know.
So, you know what? Whatever. It is what it is. So we're in the changing tent, and this woman is just, she's helping me like a champion. And she's like, what do you need, girl? And I'm like, water and Vaseline, because, you know, obviously I just got off a 112-mile bike. I got to make sure that my bits are good. So I'm like, yeah. So I had my little handheld bottle, and I had the little top unscrewed, and she hands me the cup of water. So as I'm like pouring the cup of water, and she's like, oh, well, where are you going to put the Vaseline? And I was like, oh, on my bits. And she all of a sudden opens my pants and literally swipes me. This lady swipes my junk. Like, she all up in my business. We got super close, and then I told her that's as much action as I've gotten in a long time. We had a good laugh about it. I grabbed my shoes and I rolled out. Anyway, so we get
you know, if you want
might be why I had a big smile on my face,
exactly.
Robbie.
If you want the real story about the smile on the run, it was that.
See, I knew something was up there.
Yeah, it was it's a little. Listen, you paid a little more for your T2 Pap smear than most people do for the copay at the doctor. But I mean, hey, if you wanna keep on healthcare spending, then go for it.
I was straight up self-pay right there. What can I say? So I got on the run course as soon as I got out there, and I luckily was able to see Robbie. Robbie, you were what, like maybe at mile 1 or 2, maybe like mile 2. And so as soon as I saw Robbie, I mean, obviously, you know, I wasn't expecting to see him there, but I was excited to see him there. And what I straight up said to you, Robbie, I was like, I'm going to be an Ironman today. Like, I know it. I feel it. Like, it was just, I knew it. And it didn't matter because I knew I had looked at the time at that point, and I knew I could walk it and still finish. So it was just a matter of how fast, but how smart can you get yourself there? And then my philosophy the whole day was two things. Ask yourself, where are you at mentally on a scale of 1 to 10, and where are you at physically on a scale of 1 to 10? Because as soon as your mentality goes down, then your body is going to start to go down at a much faster rate. So I kept asking myself, where are you at mentally? Where are you at physically? Just making sure that I'm still in the game, because if I was starting to drop really bad, mentally, I wanted to make sure I slowed my pace down, because I just wanted to make sure, it was all about me finishing. Time was a time, but it was about me finishing. And so, as I was rolling on, I honestly, I looked maybe the first 3 miles. And then from then on, I said, I don't care. I'm just going to run. Like, I just want, it could be the slowest jog ever, but I don't want to walk this. I did not come here to walk a marathon. I came here to give what I had. And if it comes down to me having to walk a marathon, then that's cool. But I'm going to do the best that I can to make sure that I am running, jogging, whatever I need to do. And so it just felt like the more, I kept telling Ross, like, I want to be like Ross on the Run from him in Wisconsin. Like, I just want to be that smiley and be that excited and be, just that happy. And, and thinking about that, and then thinking about Delmo Sports' comment where he said, just out here playing triathlon, like, those two things really ran through my head the whole entire time. And I was just excited to be there. I was saying hi to people, telling people they had cool kits. And even though there was a point where I, at mile 19, I had like a shooting pain drive right up through my leg. And, I almost stopped, and I almost got, almost started walking and almost got there. But, and everybody's going to have a different opinion on that dark space that you get in. And I just personally, I don't allow myself to get there, because it is so hard for me personally to get out of that dark space when I'm in it. So I just don't allow myself to get there. So instead, I was just like, you're fine. You are perfectly fine, E. Keep moving. And I started talking to other people. I started, and you can see in the one video, like, I guess it was like mile 24, and Matt was like, hey, how are you feeling? And I was like, I feel great. Like, I feel good. I got this. And like, you could see me actively limping. Like, but in my head, it didn't happen. Like, I didn't notice it. I just kept moving and just kept telling myself, because at the 19, the 20 mile marker was the turnaround, and I knew I was going home. And everyone that I passed, I was like, I'm going home. I'm going home. Like, I'm heading home. And it honestly got me through that last 7 miles, which obviously now I'm suffering for that leg pain still. But, it didn't matter at that point. I just kept smiling and kept telling people, like, hey, and waving to people and chatting to the people next to me. And, the base tent was right there. So I was like telling people, I'm like, yeah, I got this, and feeling great. And, they were looking at me like, yeah, okay, you don't look great, but whatever. You got that smile. You might not realize that, your leg is pretty much a mess right now, but whatever, didn't matter. I just kept trugging along and hit that red carpet, and it's just an amazing feeling. Such an amazing feeling. I like to watch the video every now and then when I'm having a crap day. That's what I've been doing.
I really have this vision of you in my head from that race, seeing you go by doing like 360 dance arounds. I know you weren't, but that's the like impression that I have of how happy you were out there, Mike. You're just like dancing like a, and hey, whatever, Mike, and I'm just like dying, and you're just like spinning around and jumping and kicking out. I know you weren't doing that, but that's sort of the vibe I got from you. I was like, God, yeah, damn her, she's killing me right now.
You hated me for a slight moment. That's okay.
I loved you, but it was just like, why can't I be like her? I want to be like
me. We made a finish line with big hugs and a lot of tears at the finish line after Robbie told me how I actually did, because I didn't know my time. So when I actually crossed the finish line, and I said to Robbie, I'm like, how did I do? And he was like, what? You don't know how you did? Because obviously I'm such a data person that he figured that I would be watching it the whole time. And I was like, no, I have no idea. As soon as he told me, I was just a flood of tears, because I did a lot. I think 17 minutes faster than we had expected on the best case scenario. So that was awesome. And to feel like now I left a lot out on the course just because I wanted to make sure I played it safe. I'm going back and forth between, do I want to have that same mindset of, train as hard as I can, but, do the best that I can over the next year. I'm doing Louisville again next year. So, train the best that I can, do everything during the training season, and then have the same mentality throughout the race of just, let's go out there and do the best that I can, because I'll already be faster. It's just going to be a matter of keeping, do I want to keep that same mindset or do I want to get into like a competitive mindset? Because I'm almost afraid if I get into a competitive mindset, I'm going to make bad choices and I'm not going to, do as well as I could, because I'm going to be so worried about the competition aspect. So instead, I think I'm going to make my competition season essentially the next 11 months. And then race day is going to be, all right, let's just chill out and let's roll and, do it the same way that I did it this past time. I've trained for it. I'm ready for it. And I was so ready for that race. It's not even funny. Robbie had me right exactly where I needed to be. And for us, only working together for 16 weeks, he really took my training to a whole nother level. It was insane.
Even though you didn't believe me, it's all good.
Even though I didn't believe, let's be real. Let's hear you. Are you ready? Robbie,
you believe me now. That's okay.
Robbie Bruce did not believe you at all that you did not have to run 20 miles, 18 to 20 miles beforehand. But I am a firm believer.
Believers one at a time.
Are you ready for it? Robbie, you were right.
All right. Well, I believe we're going to wrap it up.
And cut. We're done.
And that's a wrap. That's all we needed.
Ladies and gentlemen, Erika Jurkowski up in the house. She just said Robbie was right.
There's my ringtone. Robbie was right.
Where's my ringtone?
No, honestly, that was awesome. So we appreciate you taking time out of your, we'll pretend like you're off today in case your coworkers listen to this. Off day, and you got any big Thanksgiving plans?
Yeah, I'm actually holding a neighborhood turkey trot here, just so I don't feel bad about eating all day. So I at least get something in. So I'm holding a neighborhood turkey trot, the first ever, and then heading to my brother's for dinner.
Right on. That sounds great.
Sounds good.
Thank you, Erika, for telling your story.
No problem, guys. Thanks so much for having me on.
All right. See you, Erika.
Have a good day.
All right. Bye-bye. We hope you enjoyed the second Squadcast with Erika Jurkowski. She's a super cool person, and she brings a ton of energy to all the Crushing Iron athletes. And if you want to connect with her and us and hundreds of other really awesome people, feel free to search Crushing Iron Group on Facebook and send us a request, and we'll let you get in there. And we've had a lot of awesome conversation in there. So it's a good place to find energy and stay focused and connected. Also, crushingiron.com if you're interested in coaching, swim analysis. We have camps coming up next year in Nashville, so all that's there as well. And, please subscribe to the Crushing Iron podcast on iTunes. Leave us a good review, and we will catch you every Monday and Thursday with Squadcasts sprinkled in between. Thanks again.